Couple brothers.
So guys,
Who really is
I'm being
the
completely
faithful
honest, the
slave?
questions that I have are not really all that well answered on the website.
I've come back to complete the training.
No more training do you require. Already know you that which you need.
Then I am a Jedi.
Not yet. One thing remains. Then, only then, a Jedi will you be.
You know, what's unique about this Kingdom Hall, and I don't think I've ever seen a Kingdom Hall in a more beautiful location than this one. It's this hill that it's sitting on top of. I mean, it's quite gorgeous. In fact, this is the location that my fictional book takes place. This Kingdom Hall here. And I vividly imagined this hill all the time when writing it. You know, what was cool about this Kingdom Hall, the original building, because this has been completely remodeled and rebuilt. They tore it down at one point. I think I was like, gosh, I couldn't have been but like 8 years old when they tore it down and rebuilt it from scratch. But before they did that, it was kind of neat because when you went in, the auditorium was on a slope, like a movie theater. And it actually had these old school movie theater chairs where the seats, you know, go up and down. It was kind of cool. It had a lot of character. And then when they rebuilt it, they kind of made it a little bit more uniformed. Like all the others, but when they first rebuilt it, it was pink. It was the most unusual Kingdom Hall. I've never seen a pink Kingdom Hall, and I thought it was kind of cool. It was like a very light pink color. It was almost peach. And then I was probably a teenager. They decided to do a remodel, even though they had recently rebuilt it from scratch. They decided to do this brick and add more pavement, and they paved the back area. I mean, it looks all right. The thing that kills me the most, though, about this whole thing is this shit right here. On our sign, of course, they just had to put that jw.org bullshit on there. Can you believe it? Might as well have a cross. It's disgusting. You know, I used to like the color blue. These days, not so much. Well, anyways, there she is. Kingdom Hall I grew up in. Well, Kingdom Hall I grew up going to.
Hey.
Hey.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the doorbell. Yes.
Brian Parker.
Yes.
Yeah, I lived here a while back ago.
Yeah.
Hey, I just, if you have a few minutes, I've been trying to get a hold of an elder. I wanted to turn in a letter to be on file, and you are the only one I could get a hold of because I think the convention is coming up.
We had one a week ago and going to have another this weekend.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So, wait, you're in the east or the?
I'm in the east.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna read it to you, and I'm gonna give it to you, and if you could, just have it on file and make sure they're aware of it too, because I really wanted to give it to one of them because I knew them a long time, you know. But I'm just gonna go ahead and read this to you, and is out here okay?
Yeah,
okay.
This is fine.
All right. I don't want to be too loud, but and some of the language is a little sharp, but it's just had a lot of emotion, and But I want you to know that it's from a place of love. I'm not trying to,
Okay.
you know, belittle or be rude or anything like that, okay? This isn't going to be your standard disassociation letter, because I am not your standard fade-away ex-Jehovah's Witness. This will probably be the last time I ever speak to any of you, so I hope that you listen carefully. No, I beg that you listen carefully. This is usually the part where an apostate rattles off a million facts about your religion to try and talk some sense into you brothers. My guess is you are all vaguely aware of some of the inconsistencies of the governing body and the teachings of your leaders. 1914 was actually said to be the end, as a matter of fact, by Russell. 1925 by Rutherford, and then the teaching of the generation that will not pass away. The threat of the end was pressed upon the minds of this growing movement, and is likely how the religion spread so rapidly. 1975 was also highlighted, although that date, the witnesses will say, it was the members' fault for having wrong expectations and reading into their literature too much. None of that really matters, though, not really, because all of you have decided that this is the truth and that your leaders are backed by God, even though they are imperfect and are often wrong, dead wrong. You still believe that they still are God's chosen channel. I need not...
Listen, I hate to do that. I have to leave to be at the meeting. You just want me to take the letter and submit it in and put it in our file, and I'll make sure that they know about it.
I was really hoping I could read it, because I'm just afraid no one's actually going to read it.
Oh, no, it will get read.
It'll get read?
It will get read.
Promise?
Yep.
Handshake promise?
No.
No?
My word means, when I say yes, yes means yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, that's fine. So I'll just go ahead and give that to you then. And
you can see
yeah, I see you're getting ready. I'm sorry.
No.
Thank you. Yeah, just give that to, and you make sure the other congregation's aware of it.
Is your card in there?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what my status is. That's why I'm doing this, because I don't know if I'm still a baptized publisher or what. So.
Well, you'll be inactive for sure.
Well, definitely.
But this will move that up. I will make sure this letter will go in the file, whoever has your card.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right? I'm sorry you feel this way, but...
Well, you got to read the whole thing to see how I feel.
Yeah, okay, all right. And,
so I didn't get to read it all, but I'll read it all for you guys in the car. All right, well, he didn't let me read the whole letter, which, honestly, I didn't see that coming. I mean, he had a good excuse. The meeting, I guess, was starting in like 30 minutes, and he had to be there, obviously being an elder. But I've never heard of someone actually stopping a person from reading their own disassociation letter before. That's kind of new and different. But the whole both congregations are well aware of me being back in town, and know that I'm looking to give a letter to somebody. So I've caused quite a stir for sure. So I have no doubt that the letter will get read. And he gave me his word, which I don't know how far that goes with the Jehovah's Witnesses these days, but anyways, I wanted to read the rest of it for you guys because he cut me off. I'm just going to read it right where I left off. None of that really matters, though, not really, because all you have decided that this is the truth, and that your leaders are backed by God, even though they are imperfect and are often wrong, dead wrong. You still believe that they are God's chosen channel. I need not rattle off key scriptures that contradict the teachings of this organization. You have probably read a few of them, but likely you trusted the excuses of the Watchtower and never gave it a second thought. There is plenty in the Bible that should be enough for any critical mind to overcome the indoctrination of those 7 men in New York. But one cannot ignore how captive this social club is. I understand it's hard to turn your back on it, because we all know what happens then. Your family and friends and all the people you have ever been allowed to know begin to viciously oppose you. A few might still talk to you now and then, but it becomes painfully obvious that the superficial bonds you once had are now severed. This is the real reason why shedding light on the dark side of this org often yields little results. The plain truth is that most of you would rather not know to maintain this life, to keep well within this uncomfortable comfort zone. This proves to me that you brothers standing here are not critical thinkers, so listing embarrassing facts is futile. Instead, what I've decided to do is leave you with some thoughts that were enough to allow me to question the words of those extremely imperfect men. Perhaps one day, when you brothers are in a position where the truth matters more to you than your standing with these conditional ties, these thoughts will give you the boldness you need to do a little honest digging and evaluation. You see, when the light gets brighter, there is already light there to begin with. Some of the changes in the Jehovah's Witness doctrine are so dramatically different than what they used to preach that one wonders how it could ever have been considered light at all. How many brothers and sisters died by the words of the Jehovah's Witnesses, only to be revised or completely changed decades later? To me, that is not the light getting brighter. That is simply the room becoming less dark. The defense is always given that Jehovah apparently uses imperfect men, which is understandable, but shouldn't the message be perfect if it is from God? If the message is imperfect, why is it above scrutiny from its members? This would be my first point of thought to you brothers. Whenever a governing body member or elder is confronted about previous predictions of the end, the excuse is given that they have never claimed to be prophets of God. They have at times had wrong expectations. This is a sort of get-out-of-jail-free card for them, because there are scriptures in the Bible that have some very harsh words to say about people who end up being false prophets. However, this was a powerful enough admission for me to allow criticism of this organization for the following reason. If no one in the Jehovah's Witness organization claims to be prophets, then they are not like Moses or the inspired prophets of the Bible. This is curious because how many times has the Watchtower threatened us members with a similar fate as faced by Korah and his murmurers? Clearly the Bible warned of people questioning or talking against his inspired prophets. But oh wait, the governing body does not claim to be such. For proof of this, one has only to look inside the Reasoning from the Scriptures book, page 136, under the subheading, "Have not Jehovah's Witnesses made errors in their teachings?" Quite frankly, it's appalling to me that so many of the wise men that I looked up to as a child never realized this distinction between the governing body and actual inspired prophets like Moses. Doesn't this make them simply earnest Bible students like you and I? Therefore, how dare they come up with an interpretation of the Bible and then instruct us to shun our family if they disagree? That sort of judgment belongs to Christ and Jehovah alone, if you believe in the authenticity of the Bible. You may be thinking, oh well, the governing body is not like inspired prophets, but more like apostles of Jesus. Remind me, please, when did Jesus appoint the Jehovah's Witnesses as his apostles? Please don't quote me Matthew chapter 24 and verse 45. That talks about a faithful and discreet slave. Just because some overzealous Bible students thought this verse applied to them is hardly divine credentials. In fact, when you read on into verse 48, Jesus goes on to talk about an evil slave, which in the Watchtower's history they have flip-flopped on whether that verse has any modern-day significance at all. How convenient. True, when all these things make you doubt, you can look at the works and accomplishments of this organization that it has achieved and find adequate proof of their backing by God, until you actually think about it. How many organized religions are there on earth today? While the Watchtower may lead in its reach by means of publication, language, variation, is that really any surprise considering this religion has always been a publishing company rather than a typical Christian religion? Their ability to reach people of so many lands and languages is only a product of their focus. To illustrate this, Consider how every other major Christian religion engages in charity, whereas the Jehovah's Witnesses do not. Sure, they help out their own when disaster strikes, but you know as well as I do, they do not reach out to help the communities of the world. I propose that this is why they excel at what they do, because they have not been bogged down with actually having to follow the example of Christ in this regard. The second and biggest reason why I was able to question the screen of indoctrination that overshadowed me my entire life is very simple. The Jehovah's Witnesses always taught me to view Jehovah as being a God of justice and love. Would he really be offended by me doing a little digging to make sure that the witnesses were right? Furthermore, if insufficient evidence is found to support the idea that they are backed by God, would he really want me to continue following them anyway? For me, the answers are no and no. Most definitely no and no. To my horror, the evidence is actually stacked against the Jehovah's Witnesses ever being backed by God. Of course, you brothers won't look for yourselves, but it's out there, if you one day care enough. Chances are you won't even browse the evidence out of anger to prove me wrong. That is the nature of indoctrination and cognitive dissonance. That is not my nature, however. Finally, I am able to question the Jehovah's Witnesses and sleep soundly at night, because it would seem that worldly justice cares much more about the safety of children than this cult does. You have a Shepherd the Flock book. There is a paragraph that instructs you to leave the matter into Jehovah's hands, and not call the police if there is not 2 witnesses present to such a wrongdoing as child sexual abuse. This should never be the standard procedure if you really believe that your God is one of perfect justice and love. Clearly, something is very, very wrong. All you have to do is look up the Australian Royal Commission, where they have been investigating the policies that seem to allow so many kids to be raped by your members. When my children are involved, I have no man-made authority that is above question. There is no person or group on this earth that I would blindly allow to shape the well-being of my kids. This is only a very small glimpse into the overwhelming amount of thought I have given this. I could have just faded away and let it all go, but intellectual honesty is far too important to me. A statement needed to be made, a defense, my side of the story. That is why I'm here today. I am compelled to inform you that I no longer wish to be considered one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, that felt good. Thanks for watching, guys.